Hey everyone, what's up and welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Liz, your host here at Crimes Untold, and today is part 2 of the beauty killer or the snapshot killer, beauty queen killer, Christopher Wilder. If that piqued your interest, I highly suggest you subscribe, turn your post notifications on, all that way you know whenever I upload, and let's get into today's true crime case, shall we? The first victim we're going to be discussing, that Christopher Wilder. Wow, let me start that all over again. The first victim we're going to be discussing of Christopher Wilder is that of 18-year-old Cheryl Lynn Bonaventura. She was abducted from Grand Junction, Colorado on March 29th of 1984. She was seen with Wilder at a diner in Silverton where they told staff that they were on their way to Vegas. They stopped in Durango on the way. So on March 30th, they were seen at the Four Corners Monument. After this is when Wilder checked into the Page Boy Motel in Page, Arizona. It is believed that he killed Cheryl around March 31st near Kanab River. Hopefully I said that right. Kanab in Utah, and her body wasn't found until May 3rd. Yep. I ended up finding a news article about this where they talked about them identifying her. They used dental records in order to identify this young woman that is believed to have been killed on March 30th. This was announced by FBI Special Agent Terry Knowles, in regards to the body that was found in Grand Junction, which was determined to be that of Cheryl Lynn Bonaventura. Yeah. It also talks about how they found her. It said that her nude body was found by picnickers in the desert near Highway 89, which is about 12 miles east of Kanab, Utah. And the autopsy showed that she was stabbed in the chest and also shot once. Her family was notified. Obviously, they were saddened about this. It also talks about Wilder and how he was also blamed for the death of 5 other women and for the disappearances of 3 other women, all the way from Miami to Los Angeles. And 3 women actually escaped from his hands. It also talks about when he died in Colebrook as well. Further on in this news article, I'll have the link down below in the description box so you can look at it if you would like to. I have all of the links down below in the description box if you want to read any of them. The next one we're going to be discussing is that of 17-year-old Michelle Lynn Korfman. So Michelle Korfman was an aspiring model who disappeared from the Meadows Lane or the Meadows Mall in Vegas on April 1st of 1984. She disappeared from a 17 magazine competition at the mall. So there was a photograph that was taken by Wilder, and he was following her at the competition, stalking her. There's kind of like, we know and we don't know about her. Her remains were found about a month later near a rest stop in San Gabriel, or in the San Gabriel Mountains in Los Angeles. She was also identified on June 15th of 1984 as well by dental records, and it was determined that she died due to basically choking on dirt because her face was held in the ground. Yep. There was also signs that she was tortured and she was stabbed repeatedly and that she had been raped prior to her dying. They also determined that she had been dead for about a month. Her disappearance date is April 1st, and her body was found on May 11th of 1984, which is very, very sad. Both of them are very beautiful girls. And it's one of those things where you see these women, or not even just women, men as well, that are victims of these killers, and you don't realize how sad it is, and what, you go to think what made this person take this person's life, you know what I mean? Because it's not something we generally think about at first. We don't generally think about an MO until after it is deemed like, hey, there's a serial killer. We need to think about their MO. And a lot of these women had shoulder length brown hair. Beth Kenyon's really the only one, and Shari, they're the only ones that really have like colored hair. Shari had red hair, and Beth Kenyon had blonde highlights in her hair, but we also haven't found their remains. A lot of the other women were brunettes, so he has like little indicators here and there of a different MO for different women, but not all of them fall into the same category, if that makes any sense. Yeah, doesn't make any sense at all. Next on our list, we're going to be going to New York. And in New York, there are 3 victims that we're going to be talking about. The first one is 16-year-old Tina Marie Rosico. She is one of the ones that got away. I did see a article about Rosico. On April 4th of 1984 near Torrance, California. This is when Wilder took photos of Rosico before he abducted her, and he took her to El Centro, where he then assaulted her. He believed that Rosico would help him get other victims, so he was going to try and groom her to be able to, like, keep helping in the process of him basically just continuously getting more and more and more young girls, which is really sad and kind of fucked up. Yeah. So he kept her alive, and he took her with him when he went back to Prescott, Arizona, to Joplin, Missouri, and to Chicago, Illinois. This is when he was put on the 10 most wanted fugitives list by the FBI, and he was on this list from the second week of April. He and Rosico went to Merrillville, Indiana, and this is when he would abduct 16-year-old Dawnette Sue Wilt from the South Lake Mall. He would rape her several times, and this definitely traumatized Rosico. I forgot to mention that on April 10th, this is when he abducted Dawnette. And they then would drive to New York near they would go to Penn Yan, which I don't actually know where Penn Yan is. Oh, it's a small village, and it lies at the north end of the east branch of Keuka Lake, which is one of the Finger Lakes. So it's up there. Yeah, so once they were there, this is when he took Dawnette into the woods and attempted to basically suffocate her before he tried to stab her twice and then left her. Just left her there. She managed to tie a pair of jeans on her body and then went to get help. So she basically she played dead until he left the scene, and then she sought out help, which is very good for her. She was able to flag down a truck driver who took her to the Soldiers and Sailors Hospital in Penn Yan, and this driver's name is Charlie Larson. Wilder he literally like went back and returned to the spot where he left her to make sure she was dead, but then he was like, well, fuck, she's not there. So he panicked. And yeah. Dawnette would have to have surgery. She survived, and then she would stay at the Soldiers and Sailors Hospital for her to recuperate. And this is when, like, the police would show up and ask her what happened, and she told them that he was trying to go to Canada. He was trying to get out of the country. While still having Rosico in his grasp, he then would go to the Eastview Mall in Victor, New York, and this is when he would coerce and force a 33-year-old woman, her name is Beth Dodge, into his car, and he would have Rosico follow him in a Pontiac Firebird, which belonged to Dodge. After a very small drive, this is when Wilder would shoot Dodge, and he just dumped her body in a gravel pit that he found. He then would take Rosico in the Firebird, and then they would go to Logan Airport, or Logan International Airport, which is in Boston, Massachusetts, where he would buy her a ticket to LA. Following this, he then headed north and he would then go to Beverly, Massachusetts, where he tried to abduct a woman at gunpoint, but this didn't prove fruitful, which is also ironic because I went to college in Beverly. Yeah, scary. Yeah. So that we that we've talked about so far, we have a lot of interstate things happening. So if he remained alive following this, and if he remained alive after being like subdued by the Stadies in Colebrook, he definitely would have been extradited. And I don't know if he would have been tried in each individual state because he went across state lines. I'm pretty sure he would have been tried at a federal level, which means death, the death penalty would have been on there immediately. Like he would have been tried in a death penalty case. But I don't know. I'm going to have to look more into those laws to see exactly what would happen when it comes to him because there's a lot of, not really a lot of, like, sorry, I'm fighting with myself and my logic at this point right now because um, when you think broad spectrum wise about different serial killers, you have to think too, what would have happened if they stayed alive, especially ones that died? What would have happened if they were caught? What would have happened if we knew exactly what they were doing while they were alive? Do you think certain things would have happened the way that they did? Or do you think things would have like ended up differently, if that makes any sense? You really have to weigh the pros and the cons of the situation, the pros and the cons of what would have happened, what could have happened. Yeah, would have, could have, should have, and what did happen. It's really weird because you're kind of playing devil's advocate when you really don't have to, but that's kind of how my brain works because I like to dissect all of everything that happens as it does happen, if that makes sense, and try to understand like what possibly this person was thinking about as they were doing what they're doing. I know that's really long-winded, really annoying, and kind of a weird explanation as to how my brain thinks, but that's just how my brain thinks. I try to think about it all kind of like into a summation and then break it down, if that makes any sense. So that, my friends, is part 2 of the beauty killer, Christopher Wilder. And in my next one, I'm going to talk about all of his possible victims because we have victims from Australia, quite a few from Australia actually, and then we have some in, yeah, some in the United States. Let's see, we have one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have 14 more victims to discuss, and one of them is a crime all the way back to 1965, and it would make sense if he was the one that was responsible for it. It would make sense. But they would have to test the DNA in this case. And I've already talked about that case too in a previous video. So, yeah. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see you in the next one.